Across now live to Jerusalem, talk to our correspondent Noga Tarnopolsky, who joins us from there. So Noga, supposedly anyway, we've got these talks getting underway tomorrow in the US. Netanyahu, though, beforehand, he's not showing any sign of budging going into them, is he?
No, and he's also not showing any enthusiasm for them. I think in part under cover of what appears to be the collapse of the U.S.-Iran talks, Netanyahu is almost letting the prospect of the first ever in history Israel-Lebanon talks to kind of sink a bit below the mud of war. Netanyahu is in a very difficult political situation domestically. He has promised security to the north of Israel and has rejected all kinds of diplomatic outreach going back to the Biden administration. So having said that no accord is possible with Lebanon and further that any accord amounts to an accord with Hezbollah, he now has his hands tied basically with just military operations. But clearly the United States has put the kibosh on a significant part of that. Israel is no longer attacking Beirut. Israel hasn't declared a ceasefire in Lebanon, but de facto it is operating in a very limited arena in this security buffer zone that Netanyahu visited yesterday. And the Israelis living in the north, even as I speak to you now, Stuart, are under constant barrages of missiles and rockets by Hezbollah. So for now, it seems nothing Netanyahu is doing is working, and he is more and more implicated in the eyes of the Israeli public.
Meanwhile, Noga, I know you want to talk about Viktor Orban here. I mean, something we might not have thought about as an obvious link, but it is significant, isn't it, for Benjamin Netanyahu that Viktor Orban's just no longer going to be there?
Yes, it has several layers of significance, which is the reason I thought it's worth bringing it up. For one, Netanyahu is engaged currently in a very Orbanesque effort. Yesterday, we heard the newly elected Hungarian leader demand that all gatekeepers who have been doing the bidding of Viktor Orban resign. He said, you failed us, resign. Netanyahu currently is engaged in putting his own men, legally or not that legally, as head of the Shin Bet, domestic security agency, head of the Mossad, the intelligence agency. He put his own guy as head of the IDF a few months ago. He's very much engaged in Orbanesque efforts to submit the judiciary to his will, and yet he faces a similar fate. The two men, by the way, share John McLaughlin, the same pollster, and we are already seeing in Israel, as we saw in Hungary, I would say propagandistic efforts from the party in rule to argue that, in fact, their internal polls are much better than what all of the public polls show. Netanyahu, in any event, will see this as a blow to his position. It could affect his confidence in his campaign team. And more probably than anything else, Netanyahu now has nowhere he can visit in Europe. The only place he's been in the last 3 years was Budapest, that refused to abide by the indictments issued by the International Criminal Court. And that's now going to be over for Netanyahu. So we're going to see in what's supposed to be an electoral year here in Israel as well, Netanyahu more and more trapped, I would say, in an Orbanesque predicament that will be very interesting to observe as the next few months come by.
Yeah, interesting analysis there. Noga, thanks very much. Noga Tarnopolsky joining us there from Jerusalem.